Hey, what up everyone? Jerky Jones here. How's it going? So today I'm gonna tell you about the first time I did LSD. Yes, acid. It was this year. It was in April. We're in October right now, so it was however many months ago. You do the math. And it was fucking awesome. Okay? Now, before I start telling the story, I'm just gonna say, like, LSD, it's no joke, okay? I'm not saying to do it, okay? I am an experimenter, okay? I love life, I love trying new things. It's not for everyone. I have done a lot of magic mushrooms in my day, so I know what to expect from psychedelics, okay? When I did it, I made sure I was in a safe environment. I was by myself. I was in the basement of my house. No one was coming home. I had nothing to do later that day. I had no one calling me. I knew I had nothing to do the next day. I told my girlfriend, keep the kids out of the basement. My basement is really cool. It's a fun area. I got my computer, carpet, chairs, music, lights, all that stuff. So I made sure I was in a good mind frame. Okay, I had no issues, no problems that day, nothing stressing me out. That is key when you do mushrooms or LSD. You don't want to be in an environment where you're not safe, where you don't know where you are, where bad people are around. It's gonna fuck everything up. So just let that be known ahead of time, okay? So I'll just start from the very start. So it's funny because I really I've always wanted to do acid, but I never knew anyone who had it or where to get it. So I used to drive a taxi cab, right? And I picked up this kid one time, and I kept picking him up like every couple of days. He was calling, and I kept driving him to the post office. He was getting post office slips to mail stuff. And he told me that he had a website where he mailed marijuana, right? I was like, oh, cool, right on. I'll have to get some off. And he said, yeah. And then he was like, oh, I also have LSD as well. I was like, oh, really? So I got his number, slept on it for a couple of weeks. And then one day I friggin' decided to call him up. Because I was watching all these videos about psychedelics by like Alan Watts, Terrence McKenna, Timothy Leary, about like finding your inner self and becoming more spiritual through the use of psychedelics. And so it piqued my interest. And it was funny because I was just read a book by Alan Watts, watching all these videos, and then I met this guy who had LSD for sale. So it was like it was meant to be. So I called him up and I asked him, are they good? Are they strong? And he said, oh yeah, they're pretty strong. So I said, okay. So I said, give me 3 of them. They were $4 each, so $12, no big deal. So I got 3 of them. I came home that day. It was 2 o'clock, well, it was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Told my girlfriend I'm doing it. I went down to the basement and I took all 3 tabs. Like I said, I'd never done it. I didn't know what to expect, but I wanted the full experience. I didn't want a light trip. I wanted to see shit. I wanted to enter another dimension, I guess you could say. So I took all 3. And so I was in the basement. I took the 3 tabs and I chewed them, and I could taste like an alkali, a weird kind of taste. But it wasn't bad, and I chewed them up. I sucked on them for a while and then chewed them up. They're paper, right? They come in little paper. My LSD, it was funny because it was little colorful teddy bears on the design of the tabs. So the blotter, they're called blotters. So that was kind of neat, little colorful teddy bears. So it actually took a while before it kicked in, and I was kind of like wondering, it took like an hour before I started feeling it, and it slowly crept on, and I just started feeling slightly weird at first. Like I was like, I think I feel it, but I'm not sure. And it wasn't more than like 10-15 minutes after that I was full-blown LSD trip. I'm gonna try my best to explain this. It was a while ago. I tripped for about 10 hours. Nothing, I'm not gonna remember every single thing, but a few things are pretty memorable. So I started tripping out. I started feeling funny. I noticed colors were starting to change, okay? I remember my girlfriend knocking on the door and going, "Are you feeling it yet?" And I walked up to the stairs and I was grinning and laughing and I was like, "Oh yeah, I think I feel it. I think it's coming." And she's like, "Oh yeah, you feel it." And I was like, "Yeah." And I remember everything was super funny and I didn't know what to do. I was like, "Okay, what am I gonna do?" So I sat down on the computer. I went on YouTube and I typed in 1960s rock, and now it's like I'm feeling pretty high, right? And so I put on some random album. I don't know what it was. And I remember I was sitting there thinking about stuff, and 2 albums came on during my trip. And man, the music, it was just perfect. Okay, these albums, I'm gonna put them up on the screen, the covers, they rock. They were so friggin' awesome. Especially when I was tripping balls. I was like, whoa, this is amazing. So an album came out, and I didn't even click them. They just came up on their own. The first one is called Quicksilver Messenger Service. And I remember sitting there, hearing the music and like being totally engulfed in it, like I was living it. It's hard to explain, but it was like, whoa, it was in my whole head rocking around. It was so intense. And I remember staring at the computer screen, looking at this album cover. And the album cover is a horse flying through the air with a cowboy on it. And there's like a girl in the background. And I remember thinking, I couldn't tell what I was looking at. I was like, I thought I was listening to like some yokely 1950 country album, but it just sounded good because I was fucked on acid. But it wasn't. It's actual rock, like trippy rock album. It goes so hard. And I was staring at the screen, and the horse was changing colors. Like it was slowly going blue, green, yellow, orange, blue, yellow, white, and it was vibrating like colors. And I was like, whoa. And the music's like, wow, wow, wow. And I was just like, holy fuck, I was tripping. But it was so good. It sounded so good. And I actually listened to the album sober like a couple days later, and it's still so good. So I'll check it out. It just rocks, man. I don't know how these guys aren't on the radio all the time. Like so much good music that you don't hear about. So let me talk about some visuals. So certain things, like everything was changing color. Okay, that's one thing. Like everything vibrates, everything changes color. It's not, But one of the cool things that I saw, which was really trippy, was okay, this is hard to explain and you may have a hard time believing it, but I'm telling you, this is exactly what I saw. I was looking in the basement, I was staring at the wall, and I would see perfectly symmetrical, like Irish, Celtic, like, how do I put it? Like pagan kind of designs. And it would be, they were red and green, and it would like just form. It would go huge. It took up the whole vision. And it was like a laser thin. Like it was like as if, those laser lights, it's like that was drawn out. And it was a circle, and it didn't have a cross, but it had almost a cross type shape. And it would just appear, and I was like, whoa. And it came up green and red. Now, it wasn't my whole view. I could still see, I still knew where I was. I could still see the basement in the background, but these shapes kept forming. And it was pretty wild. I was like, it was beautiful though. Beautiful. I could see it and I was like, whoa. And so that was really cool. And that kind of thing went on for most of the trip. And another thing is I have a chessboard with chess pieces on it. And I remember staring at the board, and it was like it was melting in the, like it was okay, a sand dune in the desert when the wind blows over it and it blows the sand and the wind goes. The chessboard, it looked like it had sand blowing over it. It looked like it was dissolving in the wind. I could see, or when you put a car in a wind tunnel and you can see the smoke or the air flow over it, it was like that. and it was so beautiful. I was like, whoa, it was as if it was dissolving in the wind. It was really cool. Yeah, so that was my basement kind of experience. I remember hanging around for a couple hours, laughing, watching things, listening to music, looking at things, talking to my girlfriend, laughing. She was just making sure I was okay. Then I had to take the dog for a walk because she was wanting to get out. It was like 4 or 5 o'clock now. And it was so hard. I did not want to go outside because it's crazy outside. It's a crazy world, you know? I live near a police station. A siren's going off every fucking 10 minutes. But I gathered up the courage. I got my dog on the leash and I went outside. Now, I still had a good experience, but it was weird, man. It was, you know, it's fall, or it was spring. It was April. It was really cold, windy, gray, rainy. The snow had just melted. There was garbage everywhere. And I remember walking outside and being like, oh my God, like in the basement, it was bright. It had a nice energy, a nice flow. When I got outside, it was cold, dark. It looked very desolate. It looked post-apocalyptic to me. And I remember walking and there's garbage blowing in the wind. And it kind of killed my buzz a little. I was like, oh, this sucks. This is shitty. But something that was cool was, as I was walking around, I was still seeing like little lasers, like the trees along the leaves would go like, it would like little lasers would form around them, little borders around the trees and the leaves. And they were yellow and blue and red and green again, and orange, and just here and there go, you know? And I was like, whoa, it was, again, very beautiful, very cool. And so I was walking my dog, and I was laughing. I couldn't control it. I was like, I was having all these crazy thoughts. I can't remember them, but I remember thinking funny things and thinking everything was funny. And, you know, and I remember I saw this kid, this scrawny little kid with long hair, and he had a mask on. He was by himself and he had a mask, and it was super cold out, and he was wearing shorts and a t-shirt, and he was running. And I fucking burst out laughing, seeing him run across the street with his mask and wearing his sheen, and he was like, it's just ridiculous. And I laughed and laughed, and I kept walking. And as I got near the end of my walk, I was walking along and I saw an old lady walking this huge Irish wolfhound, is what she called it. And it was like a gnarly looking dog. It looked like it was like 100 years old, right? And I crossed the street, I put my hood up, I was staring at the ground because I didn't want to talk to anyone. And I could see her staring at me. And I was on the other side of the street, and all of a sudden I heard her go, what kind of dog is that? And I was like, fuck's sakes. And so I said, a mix of dog. You know, I didn't want to say what kind of dog I have. And she's like, oh, okay. And then I was like, fuck it. So I walked over, and she's like, oh, it's very beautiful. And I was like, oh, thank you. And I said, your dog too? I said, wow, what kind of, I was like mind blown by this dog. It was huge. It was like a Great Dane size, but it was really hairy and shaggy, and it had like a goatee and a mustache. And I think it was just a weird looking dog. And I remember petting it, and it looked up at me. And I swear this dog had a spirit of some wise old man. Like it was weird, man. It had something to it. And she was like, I remember she was asking me all these questions, and I have no idea if I was making sense or what I was saying, but I remember asking her about her dog, and then I said, oh, next time I get one, I'm getting one of these. She's like, well, you know where to find me. I was like, yeah. And then that's the only thing of the conversation I remember. And so I went on my way, and I was kind of like, holy fuck, I wonder if she knew I was fucked up or not. Because I was like laughing when I was talking to her and stuff too. I ended up getting home. And so I got home. They're still trooping hard. It was like 6 o'clock now, something like that. And I remember when I walked in the door, my girlfriend's son, who's 18, he had 3 of his friends there. And they were all standing around. And I was like, fuck. I was like, fuck, they're going to see that I'm high. Like, shit. Right? And I was just trying to act cool. I didn't really say anything, you know. I just put the dog, I went down. went down in the basement for a minute, and then I came back up and they were still hanging around. And they were like, oh, can we go in the basement and punch the punching bag? And I was like, yeah, go ahead, right? So they went downstairs. I stayed upstairs. I sat with my girlfriend for a bit. And all of a sudden, one of the kids came up and he's like, hey, Slyman, your chessboard down there, do you play chess? And I was like, yeah, I do, actually. And he's like, do you want to have a game? And I was like, I looked at my girlfriend. I was like, fuck. I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And I'm still right in the midst, like the throes of the middle of a hardcore acid trip. And I was like, let's do it. So we went down, sat down, set up the board. I don't think they had no idea I was tripping balls. Thank God. And, we sat down and they all gathered around and we were like, all right, let's do this. And honestly, I did not know what I was doing. I remember I was just going off memory. I couldn't focus on the game. Like, I couldn't set up a plan. I was just moving pieces for the sake of moving them. I had no idea what I was doing. And I remember I lost like 5 pieces and I hadn't taken a single one of his yet. And I was like, and they were like, oh, Simon's gonna get beat by Riley. And I was like, what the fuck? And so I looked and I just shook it off and I said, no. So there's no way I'm letting this fucking kid beat me. And I suddenly like zoned back in and I ended up fucking getting a ton of his pieces and I ended up winning. It was awesome. I came back and I just destroyed him. And I don't know how I did it, but I did it. And then one of the other kids, actually my girlfriend's son, was like, oh, can I play you next? I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. Ended up playing him, and he had a crazy way of playing chess. It was like out of this level. He had a super defensive mode. He had some plan where he only moved one piece forward and he had a bishop in there and it would just go shoot out and attack. And anyways, it was a real hard game. I ended up beating him as well. Now I was more, the trip was it was calming down a bit. I could focus more, I was talking with them. That being said, colors were still vibrating. The chessboard was still melting in the sand. So anyways, we played that, played a couple games. By now it was getting like 9, 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock I'd say. It was getting kind of late, it was dark out. They thanked me for the game, we shook hands. I was like, that was awesome. We were taking pictures, there's a bunch of us. My girlfriend came down and sat and watched. It was real awesome, good vibes, and then they went up. I chilled for a little bit, smoked a joint. My buzz started to die down. I went upstairs. I banged my girlfriend, and after that, the buzz died off. I was completely normal again. There was no sketchy feeling, no weird feeling. I was like, the colors stopped vibrating. I didn't see anything anymore. I felt totally normal. I was tired because it's, 11 o'clock or so. I was getting sleepy. I had a bowl of cereal and then I went to bed and I slept like a baby. Woke up the next day, comprehended everything that happened. And I was like, man, that was an awesome trip. I texted the guy that sold me them and I said, hey man, thank you so much. I had like one of the best trips of my life. And he was like, awesome. And so that was all I can remember. But that was my first time taking LSD. I was 35 years old. I took 3 tabs and I'll never forget it. And I really, really enjoyed it. One thing I want to mention though is I took them and I took the 3 because I really wanted to kind of, this sounds crazy, but like find God or find myself or something like get out of this world or become more spiritual. And I didn't really experience that. I think if I took magic mushrooms, I think you get that vibe more from magic mushrooms. Definitely DMT, definitely, salvia. But I had a lot of fun. It was a great vibe, great buzz. but I didn't reach those levels of spirituality that I was expecting. So that is something to keep in mind. It didn't get me into that deep thought process, like when you take magic mushrooms and you kind of figure out the meaning of life and stuff like that. I didn't get on that. It was very visual, very auditory, and fun and laughing, but it wasn't necessarily in my brain spiritual. My vocabulary sucks, but you know what I mean, right? So that's something I noted. Like when my dog came in the basement, I didn't feel this amazing connection with her like, you know, you would in other cases. Like I pet her and she felt hard and like a little land shark. And I was like, what the heck is this little thing? You know, but I wasn't like, I'm one with you or anything like that. So anyways, that was my trip. I hope you enjoyed listening to it. If you do get some LSD, be safe, be careful, don't drive. Don't do anything stupid. Don't be doing it with people you don't like or anything like that. If you know someone's going to come to the house, don't take it. I would even say, go out to the woods, do it when you're camping, by yourself, with your dog, with one other friend, good people that you really like, 2 friends, best friends, something like that. I have done LSD again a few times. I didn't do 3 tabs. I did it a couple more times with my buddy down south in Kitchener. And I only took 1 tab at a time. They were also super fun trips. We played a lot of chess. We laughed a lot. We came up with funny ideas for skits and stuff like that. I went like tubing down a river for the day and I took some and that was amazing. I didn't really get super visual, but I just felt real good. And the water felt so good on me and floating in the river. It's just awesome. I really think LSD is misunderstood, underrated. People are scared of it. You know, you hear Manson doing it, you hear people jumping out of windows. I think those are extreme situations that are very rare. I can see people having a bad trip. Of course, I could have had a bad trip. You know, I wouldn't want to do it at a concert where there's 1 million people. I wouldn't want to do it at a lot of places. Like, I prefer to do things alone now. Or with just a close friend, safe environments. So anyways, folks, that's my first time taking LSD. I hope you enjoyed the story. Thanks for tuning in. And I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace. Hey folks, I totally forgot to mention the second album that popped up randomly. That rocked so hard and was so good. It's called Canned Heat, and man, these guys are amazing. They played at Woodstock. They got so many good songs, but this album, it's only half an hour long, and it's like one giant song. It's pretty dope. So that was the second album.